Hey Vic, can you talk in one of the mics?
Hi,
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Dean.
you're welcome.
About there, Dan, you can hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Ms. Dean,
Present.
Mr. Terrazas,
Present.
myself, Wadiana present. Is Serena with us via phone? Victor, have you heard anything? And she's not there? Okay, so let's mark that, note that Serena is absent. Okay, stand for pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the United States.
As the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
We should, yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't that big? Okay, with our
Board norms.
board norms, yes, this is what we're looking for. Here we go. Number one is actively listen to all perspectives.
Close the loop, responding to concerns and questions as a unified board.
Model the professionalism we expect from all members of the district and community, customer service orientation.
Assume positive intent.
Be positive and responsive.
Okay. Is there any public input on the agenda items that we have listed? This is a time for public input for anything that's listed on the agenda. There'll be another public input time at the end of the meeting, which can relate to anything other than what's on the agenda. Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to action items and approval of the agenda.
Mr. President and board members, I'd like to ask that we move 10A. It's an item under a new business, school resource officers. I'd like to move that up to our next item, which would fall between 3A and 3B.
Are there any other moves?
Actually, I do have another. I'd like to remove item 3C. 3C, the board policies, it's not ready yet. I haven't gotten word back from the attorney. So under action item 3C.
Okay, we can talk about the status of that on 5A.
Okay.
Are there any other changes that are recommended for the agenda? I mean, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as recommended by the superintendent.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. It carries unanimously. So now we'll move to item 10A, which is school resource officers. Hey. Hey, Mr. Andrea.
Good evening, everybody. Dr. Scolita, President Guadiana, and the rest of the school board members, I really appreciate this opportunity to speak to you briefly. I wanted to present to you today, for lack of a better word, a pitch on SROs in our district. And by our district, I mean Luna Grant and Fidelity Counties.
Announce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Michael Venditti. I'm the district attorney. My apologies. I just assumed everyone knew who I was.
It's for the film.
No problem. Apologies for that. I have a habit of just getting to the business right away instead of, taking care of the formality. Please excuse me. I don't want to be long-winded. Lawyers have a habit of being long-winded. I'm hoping to be as condensed and concise as I can. I wanted to share with you that I have a special programs director who one of her main duties is going after grant money, and specifically not just state level but federal level. And she made me aware some time back that there were substantial amounts of federal grant monies for ROOPs, which stand for School Resource Officers. And in light of circumstances throughout the country, the most recent one I can think of, and probably not the most recent because they're happening so rapidly one after another, of course, would be the Uvalde story at school in Texas. And so I got to thinking at that time, it would be good for my office as the district attorney for the sixth judicial district to be as proactive as we could be, or at least attempt to be as proactive as we could accomplish or be. So one of the things I got to thinking about were school resource officers. And I can share with you that in Deming, I know we have three. We have three school resource officers that serve the entire school district. Not enough people, but at least we have three. My understanding is Silver has some security guard people. That's the right term. I don't want to cite them, but is it like retired or is no longer law enforcement, but they're doing their job, keeping the schools as protected as they can. And that's all good. I was just thinking, how can I impact the district? One of the ways would be to continue trying to solicit and gain favor and awards grant money. There's a lot of money right now, it seems like, at the federal government. I would say there's quite a bit for the state level. This is what I'm being told for this session. Let's see how that plays out. But my concern, of course, was public safety, how it relates to the communities in my district, specifically the schools. Not only the students, starting with them, of course, and then, of course, the staff and everyone else that's there serving these children. So, had it in mind to apply for the grants. I missed the cycle. The federal cycle ended last April. I didn't think about it till, like I mentioned to you, about the matter happened. I can't remember when that happened. It was close to that time. So I missed that cycle. I don't want to miss this cycle. I'd like to apply. It's opening now for certain grants that are recurring funding. They have measurables like all grants do. And I thought, man, wouldn't it be nice to have some impact in adding school resource officers to as many schools as I could in our three-county district. So that's what I'm here to talk to you about. I have presented the idea to law enforcement heads throughout the three counties. I started with them. Nothing but favorable response. I won't mislead you. It's hard finding officers right now. Everyone's got shortages. Every department I know of, whether it's county, city, state police, well, maybe state police are the ones that are benefiting from all this. Everyone seems to be going state police. But our communities are suffering. We don't have enough recruitment and retention potential, whether it's in the budget of what we pay them or all these other things to really keep them serving their communities. So how could I help and impact two things at one time? School safety and public safety, of course. And then also maybe to those that are most vulnerable, which will be those that can't protect themselves, which are the children of our school districts and the staff and the teachers and everyone else that sacrifices every day to do the best job they can educate our children. That's our future. So I thought about SROs and I thought, well, how do we get the money? So that's where my special program director came in, made me aware of the potential there. I like the idea that it's recurring funding. I like the idea that it comes from a federal source. So it doesn't put a real burden on this district. All of that's very positive, I thought. So the head law enforcement, they agreed with me. They were all for it. I didn't find one that really told me no. Then I went to superintendents. That was my next step. I thought, well, before I go to the boards and make my kids to see if I can get their support and their vote of going forward with this, I spoke to each superintendent. I spoke to yours. Each brother was very nice, very engaging. He welcomed us. I had a chance to speak to the president. I'm real brief. It was very brief, but just to kind of cover some bases. So I wanted to let you know that's my whole aim tonight. I know I don't have to tell you this, but school shootings have occurred every year in the United States since 1966. I didn't know if you all knew that, but that was the first year that there were school shootings. That's what our research found. And every year since then, we've had them. We've had school shootings. Matter of fact, they're happening more frequently now, and they're more deadly. For example, I can tell you that from 2018 and 2019, there were 119 school shootings in the U.S. 2020, there were 114. 2021, 250. Double. And as of October of this year, we're already past 250. We're at 257. And this year's not even over yet. So it's alarming. And I know that you're not the only ones, that are aware. I know the whole country is. I wanted you all just to know some of that. Other countries have, like Australia, for example, since 1991, they've only had 6 school shootings since then, since 91. Since 94, South Africa's had 5. Since 1913, Germany's had 6. Canada, 19 since 1884. That's going back. And Mexico, this is kind of surprising too, I don't know why, 17 only since 2004. So needless to say, we're leading the world, it seems like, in mass school shootings or school shootings period. So it's an alarming trend. It really bothers me. And I thought, man, I need to see if I can get some help with these communities of ours. And I thought I need to go to the school board, cover my bases before that, see if I can get them to give me a vote if they're on board. And those that opt out or have other plans, respect it, totally respect that. But I thought this would be a good way to start. See if I could get the major school districts on board. There's 5 of them that I spoke to. Yemi, Silver, Bayard, I'm one more. What's the last one? Hidalgo? Thank you. Hidalgo. There was a regional meeting. I know the president was there. I saw him there. I attended that regional meeting. A board member was there. And I just tried to make a little presentation about it, among other things like fentanyl and other concerns that cyberbullying, sexting, those are and I thought, I just want to be proactive with the schools. And if it's something that you all feel comfortable and that it's appropriate, I'd sure like to include this school district in my grant applications, trying to secure as much as I can. And then, of course, hand it over to a fiscal agent who would monitor and take care of that money, which would either be the city, the police department, or it would be the county. So, whichever way works out best. I know that some people have concern about armed guards around officers in the school. I understand that. I'm not trying to discount it. I just feel that it'd be more safe than sorry to make sure that we've got the most well-trained, certified, tactical, know how to handle and train for that situation. I just feel it's the best result for all of us. I know that security guards can be armed, but I know there's a lot of liability concerns. There's a lot of insurance concerns you have to pay for, as well as the certification, as well as the training. There's just a lot of pieces that have to be put in place. And my feeling is that's going to put a little tax or a little heaviness, a little burden financially on the school district. So I'm thinking, why not try and get it for free to grant the federal monies, and we need the measurables, and hopefully we fund this every year, because they're the ones I want to go after. They're recurring. They recur every year, which I like that. That's good. It's not a burden on you all or the community, and that's how we work for all the communities that I've spoken to. So I just wanted to make you aware of it, get on the agenda. I understand that it has to be presented twice, if I understand correctly, before it's voted on. I don't know if that's true. You all know how you do that. But whatever we can do to streamline it, I don't want to miss this site. I want to get the applications in. I want to make them as professional and as good as I can make them so they get accepted. And so I thought I'd come and meet with you all before that season opens, which is right now for some, more of them as we enter the new year. Most of the deadlines are March and April. Most of all the deadlines for the apps, the applications. So I just want to get my ducks in a row now early. your all's consideration and approval. I have my special program director here. I had her prepared to talk about the grants. You can do that. You feel there's time for that. I also got my two certified law enforcement investigators who I have with me. They can talk about SROs versus, security guards, the armed and other considerations like that, because they don't know if I have direct knowledge of it, but I think one of them may have had some experience in doing that. I talked to Sheriff Gomez, before as I was driving up there. He made me aware that when he first started, he was one of those. He was one of the SRO people. And he said that there was definitely set up and everything was going on just like in the mid-90s. And that everything was lined up, and then for some reason, at the very end, it fell through. So I know I'm not bringing a new thing here. It's come up before. Even as far back as in 85. I sure like to be one of the difference makers and really help our communities. I hope you all feel the same way. And we're talking certified law enforcement officers that would be designated either from the PD or would be designated from the SO, the sheriff's office of the country. With that, I will stand for president, and if you give me more information, I got my people here to talk about this. I just want to get more time to. Mr. Rentier, I did want to let the board members know, I did put the information that you sent to me in their packets. There's a lot of pages. They have all of it. Very thorough. Let me share one thing. That was great information. I read through a lot of it.
Yeah,
And
the
I'm sure
data
this
was
is
great.
More than SROs, it was about mentoring and other programs. I know once you get the buy-in, I was a coach for 20 years. I know how important it is to mentor. I know how important it is to get them to buy in to what you're trying to teach them. More importantly, how you're trying to mentor them. Right. Once you get buy-in, men and women, they can go out. I know it's very important. Thank you for that. I hope we didn't bombard you with more than you needed. No, we appreciate it. Thank you. Be thorough and not give you enough. And with that, again, I stand for any questions. Thank you. Is there any questions?
Mr. President, so this would have to be made an action item for next meeting, is that correct?
That's correct.
No, just thank you, sir, for presenting the information. It's a priority of our board for student staff safety, so thank you.
You're very welcome. I would rather know that I try to take steps than sit back and fall on us and we're gonna be looking at each other like, why didn't you do something? I don't wanna feel that. And God forbid it ever happens, but I used to think that in my hometown and we've had it happen. I remember when that young girl was killed and my kids were in school at the time. Very traumatic. And I feel a lot better about myself and the office if I knew we were trying to do something proactive instead of wait for it to happen and then we're all trying to figure out what to do next.
Any questions?
I'm good.
I had a couple of questions. We had talked over some of this, and one is that we have San Lorenzo out in the distance.
That's right.
So if it were that we were to get any SROs, would it be at least two? So at least one can be in proximity of that area.
My aim would be to have one in each school, Mr. President.
That's awesome.
Maybe I'm reaching too far, but if I'd rather reach that far and get one or two, and then you all can decide how you need to support one another. Because I agree with you, it'd be nice to have at least one in that area, one in each school would be dynamite, it would be perfect. Anima's the same concern I have, so far out, it takes so long to respond. Not because the sheriff's not trying to be responsive, but it's just hard to get people out there when they're not really patrolling out there. My understanding was in Mingus and Haywood, that they've got an officer or two that live out there in that area already. So, I don't know, maybe it'll be a good fit, I can't remember, is it one or two? Two that live out in that area? So I'm hoping that'll tie in a lot easier for the sheriffs and everybody. I'm hoping that maybe the officers that are there now will love the opportunity to be an SRO and that they'll just, and then it'll help recruit hopefully other positions and that they get paid better because we all know they're underpaid. They're underpaid. It's hard to keep them because the recruitment's one thing, but then when you retain them at the salary, keep them competitive. I face that problem with my prosecutors. I'm shorthanded because of that. We're rural. We're down here in the southwest most corner of the state. I've got borders with Mexico. There's a lot of stuff that happens down there. So recruiting good lawyers, prosecutors, and keeping them, retaining them, that's a big, major concern of ours. Each time I go to the legislative finance, which I just did last week, that's a pitch I make to them every time. Since we don't have Chick-fil-A's, in our district, people want to live where there's Chick-fil-A's, it seems like the Cruz says, Santa Fe, Albuquerque, because the biggest cities, Farmington. Oh yeah, I want to go work over there, but it's hard to lure them over here. And then when you get a good one, you don't want to lose them. Same thing with SROs. I want to make sure that we have potential to lure the good ones and keep them.
The other thing I had is there any, is the state having any kind of contribution to this, or are they having any kind of tag-alongs for this?
I haven't made a pitch for that. There's 14 district attorneys. I'm one of 14. I kind of briefed them with what I was doing. A lot of them seemed like on board. A lot of them feel like they've already been heading that direction. But to be honest with you, Mr. President, I wanted to start with the federal funding, just not to put a burden, on especially the school district. And then I thought if the well kind of goes dry or a little bit south, I'd have grounds to make a pitch to the state legislators. I think the legislators that we have in our district, I think they would be most supportive, like Mr. Terrazas and Ms. Hemphill, and the ones that I've worked really well with, Crystal Diamond and so forth. I think that they would really support me because I've talked to them about helping us in a time of a pinch or a crunch where maybe we need a little help from the state level. I just thought I'd go to the highest source first, especially since it won't tax us too much locally. That was my thought.
I think that's a good strategy, because that way they know that they're not funding the whole thing.
Yes, sir.
And
You know how they get with that. They get a
Yes,
little resistant
they
to
like,
us on that.
they'd rather have that
Yes, sir.
scenario. The other thing is that is it a good idea for us to get with the municipalities and form kind of a coalition to respond to yours? Because, for instance, we have very good rapport with the Bayard police, and
That's really good. Yes.
I'm not quite sure how we're with the Hurley police, but it's something that we should certainly collaborate with, and as well as Santa Clara. So for the next meeting, if we put this, well, we will put this on the agenda as an action item, and we could include making those ties with those communities.
Tri-Cities, that's a great idea, Mr. President. I'm also proud to say, your chief of police was my former investigator. So hopefully that helps us a lot as far as getting along and working together. I look forward to that.
I'm sorry to say, but your loss was argued.
No, I'm
It
happy.
certainly
You know
was.
what? The community of Bayard deserves the best they can get from every department. And I thought it was a good move because I know he's from here. So he's part of you all. And I want to be part of that because it's part of my community. So it's very important. Yes, I'm thrilled to death that he's there. I just got to get him to work with me a little tighter. I have that with every law enforcement agency. So it's just daily building relationships. So good.
All right, so I got a quick question
sir.
or a comment. So I know Santa Clara, Hurley, they all have a JPA, right? They help each other out,
Yes,
they
sir.
respond to each other. Is that something that school resource officer is that gonna be part of them, or it's gonna be a separate?
No, I sure hope so, because I think the best way is to make sure that it's all connected and that they're there for one another, because they're gonna need one another. Delays in response time, I don't need to tell you, I know you know that's very crucial in a situation like a school shooting or a bad event like that. And so you've got to have everyone responding. For example, I'll tell you down at the border where I'm at, Border Patrol being there to respond, HSI to be there to respond, the FBI, the agents that are working there. I cultivate that so that I know they'll respond, because way deep in there towards the border, the only presence usually my stakeholders and constituents see are Border Patrol, because there's not a lot of SO presences, and it's because shorthandedness and all of that stuff. So if I don't try to cultivate, sir, like what you're talking about, all of us pulling together and being there to respond for one another, setting something like this up would be a failure. It's not going to work the way we need it to work, especially in a rural area, which I know I don't have to share that with you. I know you know that, but yeah, it's about cultivating relationships and responding for one another so that we give the best tactical response we can to that situation and keep as many of our children alive as we can. I hope that answered
No, it
it.
did. Thank
It
you.
has to be collaborative, and we've got to work it together. And I don't mind being the guy to champion pulling it together. I do it daily. Anyway, it's part of what I do. And I know how important relationships are. And that's how you build that kind of trust where I know you're going to be there for me and I'm going to be there for you.
Yes, sir.
That kind of stuff. Yes, sir.
The last thing was, I have talked with Sheriff-elect Villanueva. He's very interested in participating in this.
And I'm
as well.
so glad. I'm so glad. I'm going to need Raul's, Sheriff-elect, Villanueva's help. I call him Raul sometimes, but I don't mean no disrespect. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to building that connect with him. I'm going to need his help. He's going to need to be a part of this. And frankly, I think as far as a fiscal agent, I'm just feeling that the county would probably be a little bit more in tune and in line with what we're hoping for. I don't want to burden the city more than I need to. I keep track of the news and I read the papers and all that stuff. And I just think maybe if I can get Grant County, it covers so many schools from as far as Cliff
as far as where we got over here, San Lorenzo, and it has to be widespread. And then, of course, to Hurley, and then I don't know what's up north, but there's a school up north. But yeah, I just think I like the idea of a county running it, and as far as fiscal agent, so either route it through the SO, which I would hope, or if we need to, we route it through the PD. But just as long as we keep, those duties separate and balanced and so forth, so we don't have to worry about no shenanigans. Everything works out. Yes, sir. Oversight's very important. I know how important that is.
I was just gonna ask if any of your people wanted to say anything.
Would you mind if they just?
No, no,
as
that's
brief as they
perfectly
can?
fine, yeah.
First one I'd like to introduce is Jenny Becerra. She's my special programs director, and she's gonna be the one going after the grants.
Does this mean yes?
Thank you, Mr. President, and members of the board. I was not anticipating speaking. I have done a bit of research on some grants that are currently available that are going to be open for solicitation starting in January. So once we know what direction your community wants to go in, then it'll help us identify which grant that we should apply for your particular situation. There's a number of them, just so you're aware. There's a Rural Violent Crime Reduction Initiative. There's the Enhancing School Capacity to Address Youth Violence. There's Strategies to Support Children Exposed to Violence, Youth Violence Prevention Initiative, and Preventing School Violence, Stop School Violence Program, just to name a few that are all federal, and each one of those is over $450,000. One of those is a $2 million award if we are successful with that one. So in your packets, you have a lot of that information already. If you have questions about anything, my email address should be in there somewhere. You guys can reach out to me and email me, and then we can help drill down which one we should apply for your area. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I could, my lead investigator, Mr. Jacob Yates, my SROs and security officers.
President, Dr. Spalletta, members of the board. My name is Jacob Villegas. I'm an investigator with the 6th Judicial. What I kind of wanted to say is school resource officer, there's way more than just having a school resource officer because of active shooters. That's the first thing everybody thinks of when you say school resource officer is active shooter. School resource officer will bring mentorship, not only to the students, but to the community in a whole. Kids will be able to build a rapport with these officers, and they might feel comfortable coming forward to the officer and saying, look, I'm getting bullied, I'm getting cyberbullied, I'm getting, people are sending me text messages for sexting, extortion, whatever they may be. There's these pills going around. They might feel more comfortable talking to an officer as opposed to just a security guard. The officer might have more pull. Plus, the officer could educate the students, could educate them on laws and maybe give them a different perspective on law enforcement. Having armed security guards, that is also an option, but it is a liability. And not only a liability because of insurance purposes, but because you don't know you don't really know what kind of training that unarmed or armed security guard has and how they're going to react to active shooter situation. Do you have any questions? Any further questions? No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. If I may just end on this. So when I went to meet with the Animas superintendent, I think it's Dr. Cushman. I hope I have the name right. Cushman? I think that's his name. Anyway, when I was sitting with him, he had his administrative staff there meet with me. And he said, look, if I get one of these and I say that we're on board and I like the idea and I can get the board, blah, blah, blah. He gave me the whole spiel. I want them to be able to substitute teacher when I need one. I said, I want them to, even if they have the need, serve lunch in the line for the students. I said, that's the kind of thing I'm looking. I said, sir, however you want to develop it and work it, I'm behind you. We can mold it to fit the needs that you have. And I believe in that. I believe that if we can put the school resource officer into roles, not just being the man as far as law enforcement, but serving the school, connecting with the students, things like Dr. Cushman talked about. I think that's a great idea. I'm sure there's other good ideas. I don't think there's a limit on that, but I guess it would depend on each school district and how they see it and how they want to do it. But just to let you know, I'm thinking wide angle lens. I leave it to you all to narrow the focus as you all need it for your district. I just wanted to mention that.
In that framework, in that framework, would they become an employee of the district?
No, I think it's just filling in an emergency or need basis. And I guess Dr. Cushman, I hope I have his name right. I haven't seen him in months. Was just thinking, I want this guy more diverse. I want that person who's filling that role to be diverse for the needs of my school. I said, I don't see limitations on that. I really don't, because the more we get that SRO to blend into part of the school environment and being an active player, not just on the law enforcement end, but connecting and building I think that's the best kind of school resource officer every district would want. So I don't think there's limitations on all. I think you all probably would know them and set them for your district, but that was his view and his mindset. And I said, man, I'm behind you. I think that's great. Being creative with stuff like that, I think, especially if it's proper and it can be, I think that's what makes us special as people. And the sky's the limit, especially if we stay within the boundaries, which I know is important. I'm not trying to say not that, but I'm just open for all of that. I just wanted to share that with you. He had that thought in his mind. Use them for a range of needs that they have if they come up. Well, thank you for the time. I really appreciate that. Unless you had more to ask me.
District Attorney
I'm all yours.
Renteria, we appreciate
No,
your
thank
presence.
you
We
all.
appreciate the effort of all your staff, and we look forward to the next meeting.
Thank you.
Make
Appreciate
this
you
an
all.
action
Thank you.
Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Was there,
And if you're okay, we'll be excused. I've got one that's got to drive all the way to Cruces.
Yes, sir.
I
Thank
don't
you
mean
so
to be-
much.
I usually sit. I don't want to be rude, but
No.
thank you all very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Safe travel. Okay, now we move on to item D. The approval of the bar for the American Rescue Plan Act idea 20.
You want me to speak to it? Okay. Yeah, and I could just chime in if I,
Did we approve the board minutes?
Where are they?
I'm B.
Okay, I just put that above that. No, we didn't. Okay, I apologize. I skipped over an item, and that is item number, item B, 3B, and that is the approval of November 14th, 2022 board minutes. Is there, I would entertain a move to approve those minutes.
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the minutes? I want to thank Dr. Spoleta for putting them together, and
I enjoyed it.
all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously. Okay, now getting back to the bar for the American Rescue Plan Act.
Okay, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Spoleta. In front of you, you have information for a bar, the American Rescue Plan Act, for Fund Code 24346 in the amount of $63,925. I met with the Finance Committee to break that down for you. And the breakdown is as following. About $10,700 for IEP specific materials, $10,760 for specific SPED teacher and staff training, specifically coaching on things like IEP development, productive present levels of performance, collaborative goal writing, social emotional learning and training for particularly the middle school population. $40,000 for an enrichment program, such as a summer program for students with IEPs to engage in community-based activities. We had one of those programs before COVID, pre-COVID, and had good success with that, taking our underserved students with IEPs to activities such as going to the cliff dwellings, going swimming, going fishing. Students have never, most students in our area with IEPs are, they don't have the luxury of traveling with their families or engaging in community activities. So we have found that to be very successful in teaching soft skills, life skills and how to clean up for themselves, how to gut a fish, how to, prepare things. Going to a movie. Students had never had gone to movies before. And so things like that, the certified staff works with our students in doing this. And then can I go on to the next item as well? Because they're kind of together, the 24349. Would that be okay? Or do you want me to take them separate?
Probably separate because they're two
Separate?
different, they're two
Okay, so,
different
and
ones.
that would be the amounts for this 63,000.
I'm wondering, has there been collection of data to ascertain why students have left Cobre, specifically special education students? And has anything been addressed to either try to remedy that or even try as far as going to see if we could get what we need to do to get those students back?
Not to my knowledge, not as it pertains to this bar specifically, but I would have to look to see at that research how if families have moved, where have we lost students?
Well, the question really had to do was the allocation of the funds. Was that a part of the consideration of the allocation of the funds?
I do not believe so. This ARP funding is outside of our typical IDEA B funding, so this is additional money. So I don't know how that would be related to that case.
Okay.
Mr. President, it is the recommendation of the Finance Committee. We met before the meeting and she was able to answer all our questions. It's our recommendation for approval.
Okay. And I'll entertain a motion for approval. Or did you have?
No,
you can
I was
still-
just saying, I motion to approve the FAR American Rescue Plan Act idea B 24346. American Rescue Plan 23.
We haven't got to that one yet.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any further discussion?
No, I'd like to thank Director Minus for the breakdown. One of our finance committee members requested a breakdown and she was able to break it down for us prior to the meeting and was able to review that. We came into the meeting with good information.
Good.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay, all those in favor of approving the bar, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Bar passes unanimously. Now, item E, which is the American Rescue Plan, line number 24349.
Okay. President, Dr. Spalletta, members of the board, you have in front of you information for the 24349 fund code. Again, it is for funds for pre-K through 12 in the award amount of $5,487. And for this one, I propose that we use it for funds to leverage SPED training for staff and coaching on the IEP development, PLPs, collaborative goal writing, and SEL funds. So using both funds together, we can get approximately 7 to 8 visits, depending on the trainer, for on-site training.
Visits from,
From a certified coach, consultant,
Okay.
someone that can work with our team specifically.
thank you.
Mr. President had just requested that maybe SEL be included as part of one of the trainings, particularly at the middle school. Because that's the highest population of our special education students. So that's going to be taken into consideration.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Just a comment that this funding is through September of 2023, right? So we recommended we try to consume that monies before August or September of next year. So just want to be clear that that money is available all through September of next year.
Yeah, that's the federal fiscal year. Yes. Any further comment? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve American Rescue Plan funding request or funding allocation.
So moved.
Second.
Your second. Any further question? Any further comments? Okay. All those in favor of approving American Rescue Plan 2430 2434-9, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Absent a student,
I should have taken that off there. She's absent today. She's out of town.
then unfinished business, the policy revisions. You want to speak to that, or I can? It doesn't matter.
So I've submitted the B policies, but the attorney hasn't gotten back to me. I thought he got back to me, but I guess he's out of town for the holidays, or he hasn't had time over the holidays. I've communicated with him several times, but I haven't heard back from him.
So, and we've only sent them the Bs, correct? The-
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So I did talk to our directors today, and we are going to help with, at the meetings, we are going to be the ones that take care of
Thank you.
transcribing everything. So somebody will be there tomorrow that can help with that.
Thank you very much.
It's not the sole responsibility of the board president to transcribe all of the policies, so we're going to help you with that.
Thank you.
So one of us will log in and do that each time.
Okay. Since we're trying to contact them regarding the Bs, we finished the Cs and the Ds, and we're into the Es, but we've completely done B, C, and D. And so.
Are they in that same drive?
Yes.
So he has
Yes.
all of that, so maybe that's why it's taking a little longer. He has the whole drive.
Okay, I didn't put together a drive except for the one that I have on the Google.
That's it. I
Okay,
shared that with
then-
him, gave him access to it.
Okay.
I'll
Okay.
let him know that the Cs and Ds are available
Completed as
too.
well. Okay, moving on to board retreat. Are there any other questions on the policy? No, okay, moving on to board retreat.
So we had December 10th, Saturday, December 10th, but unfortunately that date has been reserved for 6 months. So days up to that, days after that, the following Saturday, the 17th is open. I don't know if that's okay with everybody.
Is this for the location? The lodge, or
Yes, the lodge is booked up on the 10th.
can we just move it to another location?
Sure.
If everyone's okay with that, I set that date for the retreat.
I agree, it'd
So
probably
just
be easier
One of our
to,
school campuses or somewhere else in town or something? Okay, anywhere?
what
Is that
about,
the consensus of the board?
the Silver City Convention Center or some small room?
Maybe Western?
Okay,
Yeah,
no,
Western
I
would be
can
awesome.
check with both of those places. I'm sure that wouldn't be a problem.
Cool. Okay,
The Grant County Commissioner's Office building is also available. I mean, it's not that big, it's not that small.
We had a retreat at the Silver City, where Priscilla Lucero's office is at this summer, and it worked fine also.
wherever you can find.
Okay, well, I'll do that, then I'll let you know.
Okay, Finance Committee report. If there's any,
So all that was discussed at our finance meeting was the budget adjustment requests, and then Mrs. Minus gave us the breakdown of where that money was going to be allocated.
okay. The Audit Committee report is that we'll be meeting this Wednesday, and we'll go over the first 3 of the audit findings to see where we are in coming forward with ensuring that these are not going to happen and following our corrective action. And to date, we haven't yet. Part of that corrective action included looking at the reconciliations on a monthly basis. So for the current year, so we need to make that part of the agendas going forward. We looked at 3 of the findings, and we're going to finish the remainder of that in this meeting. And I also added that we will look at the $500 general fund donation that comes from the fundraisers. There's no place in our policies for that to be taken. So there's a question of how it's being, why it's being applied, how it's being applied, and how it was determined to be applied. really it's going to be more a cessation of that activity and an accounting for the monies that have been collected without proper authority. Okay. Any questions? Okay, moving on to the operation director's report. Mr.
Okay, air
Mr.
conditioning and heaters. There are rooms still throughout the district that we're addressing the heating concerns. Some of them, big ones, the high school cafeteria needs a compressor, which will be in Las Cruces on Friday. So as I told the principal of the high school, we probably wouldn't get that, where that place is warm till Monday. Performing Arts Center needs a thermostat, and the kind of thermostat that that place came with, very hard to find. It's even in, and so we found one locally that we think, well, we know it should work, and we should have that up and going. The high school computer lab needs an inducer motor that will be here tomorrow and will be installed then. So we'll have both the Performing Arts Center and the computer lab. High school art room was done before the break. There's sites throughout the district. Sometimes they're set for 71, and but for some reason they seem a little cooler than that, or at least the people in them feel it's cooler than that. But we've got a handle on it. I would say we're 95% throughout the district. We'll still get that one or two teachers once in a while that just have a cold room. The one that we still have waited on is the special ed room in this building right here. Gila Valley Electric will be here to look at our walk-in freezer, and at the same time, I want them to look at this. We had a situation where we had roofers come. When they put a roof over there, we think they covered up some conduits that went to the heaters. So we may have to just do a different route. This isn't a real complicated fix, but it's one we've got an electrician coming in to do. The Palms and Associates and the Fire Marshal report, really it's a lot of the same stuff, some of the same stuff that was in the Palms and Associates, our insurance people, as was in the Fire Marshal. And I'd say we're probably maybe 60 to 70% through our Fire Marshal report. As far as Palms and Associates, I've spoken to the principals, for instance, in San Lorenzo. They're addressing what they can address, and then of course the operations staff is addressing what they can't. And since the report came out, for instance, I'm sorry, I'm talking about Palms and Associates instead of the Fire Marshal report. But since I'm talking about Palms and Associates, I'll continue that. We put in a new fence and some wood chips around the playground area, which was all part of the report, and that's been done. In fact, all we need to do is get some sand out there, and they're completely done as far as their playground is. Hurley, I've met with Miss Martinez regarding the Palms report. Same thing. She's put in some work orders. We followed up on those work orders, and then they've taken care of what they can do at their end. They can't take care of a lot of the stuff. Cobre High School has obviously the most, especially in the Fire Marshal's report. But Ms. Montoya has done a very good job of addressing these things and what she can do and what she can't do. Again, I think we're probably 60 to 70% there. That's the same throughout the schools. One of the things with the Fire Marshal report that we are doing starting in 2 days, because it's good, they'll be here in 2 days, we're removing all the deadbolt locks, and almost all of them are at the high school that need to be removed. And the reason it's taking 2 days is because we ordered the plates, the locksmith did, and it's going to take 2 more days for those to all get in. So you don't just have a hole in the door. And then that's about it. That's about the report. That's any questions.
I have one about the cafeteria at the high school. So are they able to move kids elsewhere to eat? I went in last week. I bought an enchilada plate
Cold,
ticket,
right?
and it was freezing in there.
Very cool. I don't know. I couldn't answer that question. I just know when it'll be fixed, and I'm guessing Monday because we can get the part on Friday.
Okay.
And it gets into Las Cruces. I was ready to go down and get it tomorrow if it was in. But over the holidays, I figured it.
So, your knowledge, the only
Well, no, as soon as I say there's no other classrooms, I'm sure there's gonna be one. So, no, but those are the ones I know of right now. I'll get in front of my computer tomorrow morning and there'll be a email, another room. These are old systems and, we're kind of putting a lot of Band-Aids on these things. But we're continuing to do it, and I think we're just about there as far as the heating. That's a good question. Let me follow up on that. I couldn't tell you.
Would they be tied into the current duct system?
Well, normally they would, but I don't know if that is the current duct system
Each-
suited for COVID.
Each one
That
will
I
have
don't know. That's a
each
good
one will
question.
have its own condenser, and that's where the air is gonna go through, not gonna go through the ductwork tube. Okay.
I learn
Miss-
something every day.
Mr. President, I just had a question about the mini split units. I thought we were gonna be utilizing those going forward. That was my understanding.
The what?
The mini split units, like for classrooms and different places throughout the district.
That's why I'm wondering how they're connected to a central.
Because we're running into these Band-Aid fixes and not being able to find parts for these older systems.
I don't think we ever agreed for a whole district.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe that's something we can look at down the road.
Well, we're using mini splits in a lot of the high schools in their classes. There's one big unit I know it's on back ordered. I say back ordered, it's like everything else is getting there late. And that's for the library. And that's a very large unit.
Okay.
But in all
The
the classes-
library room 155 and the egg shop and the other outside shop are different types of units. They're actually swamp coolers.
That wouldn't be the heater.
They're swamp coolers.
Yep.
Yeah, but the whole system, they have to change for all four of those different things. I think that's what we got a quote on.
Yeah, we got a quote for about 60,000 with the large unit on the library and then plus over the shop areas. And they're dual, cooling and heating.
So are teachers and students notified of the state of repair and anticipated completion?
Well, I'm letting their principals know, and yeah, as far as these ones I just told you about, those are some answers I got after the break. Because I thought that, like I said, a lot of them would be here like tomorrow. So I let their principals know.
So like the cafeteria has been without heat this season?
Yes, and Miss Montoya has let me know, which she should. And we've just been waiting on that one part. And we found out today it will definitely be in Las Cruces on Friday.
And no alternatives have been pursued in terms of like electric heaters or anything along those lines?
Well, it's such a large area, I don't think that would,
If it's a large area and we can at least concentrate in a smaller area to give some relief, I think.
well, and we could, I mean, I'd work with Miss Montoya where she wants to put them at that time. And then we can find some space heaters in those classrooms or something, or let students eat in some classrooms. I mean, it's not my call. I think that would be the way I would look at it.
Okay. And the inspections, you said the fire marshal will be back in 2 days?
No, I'm just saying how far along we are. I don't know, not sure when they'll be back. I haven't been notified by them.
Okay.
It just, it could be in 2 days. It's a month. I'd have to check that when we first got that report. I got the report right about the time I started.
And regarding any of the deadlines that they have set, are you confident we're going to meet those deadlines?
I think so. I mean, they're not going to shut the school down or anything, but we've come a long ways, I think, compared to what it was. It was a mess. It really was. These are big reports for one
They
school.
were bigger in June. in long ways. You don't do any repairs for years in the long ways.
Yeah, and hope that this next report won't have any of the low-lying fruit like the extinguishers not being serviced or anything like that. Okay. You have any comment? Okay, thank you, Mr. Kennon. Okay, now we'll move on to superintendent's report. School fundraisers.
In your packet, there's a few fundraisers that I've approved. As far as school safety, we are getting quotes for radios for all of the campuses. I've been working with the principals, and Victor has helped me out as far as getting some quotes. So for our finance meeting next Monday, we should have quotes for radios. We're going to be working with other districts across the state, having a quarterly safety meeting. Las Cruces initiated this, and so we definitely volunteered to participate in that. So it'll be a quarterly meeting where we meet with other safety directors across the state to talk about things that are working and get helpful resources, things like that.
Yeah, I was gonna add to that. I was notified today, and it's actually, I think, coming out of Rio Rancho, but Las Cruces is the one that notified me. And, yeah, I'm excited about that. Big part of it, share ideas.
Title IX implementation plan, we're working on that plan that I presented last time. Our team met today. We have 2 trainings for the district administrators, all administrators in the district, 2 hours on Friday. And we have a 1-hour training for all staff across the district on Friday. Then we're going to be sending out an email to all of the staff in the district on kind of a refresh information about Title IX and how to file a Title IX report. And we're also going to send that to the parents in the district as well as post it on our Facebook page so everybody's aware of who's in charge of Title IX and what the process is for filing a complaint.
Did we find a contractor for conflict of interest to contract out that service?
Yes, I was going to talk about that in the executive session today. Our coordinator, Mr. Corey, and I met with our law firm today. Stephanie, one of the attorneys there, and she's actually coming on Monday to do that investigation. I just said, no, I need to do it. And then, so, we're still looking at the big training for all of the different positions, the Title IX positions. We're hoping we can find somebody to do it the first couple weeks of January, and then have some districts in the surrounding area participate with us, so it won't cost us so much.
The request for the Title IX information has included the milestones or the measures of implementation, and been requesting a time frame for that implementation as to when we think we're going to be in compliance with those elements of the Title IX.
Well, I submitted a timeline last week with all of the times on it, the dates on it.
Okay, that's right.
We're
I'm sorry.
up to date on that.
Last 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
The only thing that's not on that is the large training. I'm not sure why I left that off, but Mr. Corey was on the phone with both the companies today, the contractors, and so we'll have a time by the end of the week that we'll be doing that training.
Okay.
So I think the only thing that's not on that timeline is pending the conclusion. That's the only thing that's not on. We'll definitely be doing that probably early January.
And then I'd like to suggest also that maybe we, after all the trainings, then have it open to parents as well, if they have any questions or comments and understand what was going on and maybe.
Well, Mr. Corey, after the training on Friday with the staff and administrators, he's going to send out an email, parents sharing on Facebook with parents, and give them a general overview of what Title IX is and what our process is too, so that they better.
And perhaps we can incorporate that into our handbook.
Oh, and that's another thing I was going to add. I'm going to try to do this for our next meeting is do an emergency policy on Title IX. actually gotten the wording from Las Cruces. It's gonna change next year, but we wanted to put it in our policy right now, so I'll have that, for our next board meeting.
Okay. Right.
So, something I'm working on as far as my entry plan and just as far as knowing that we've lost students, talked about different numbers, anywhere from 20 to 30 students over the last year. Working to put together a recruitment committee that can reach out to the families that have left the district. Plus a public relations and marketing aspect of that too, where we actually promote our district on social media and in the community. So that's something I'll be looking for members to join in. But I think we need to do it. I did meet with the mine, all of the leaders of the mine. Frank and I met with them, I guess it's been about 2 weeks now. And they are expecting that the mine is going to be at full operation by January of 2024, about a year and a half from now. They've invested a lot of money in the mine as far as updating things and looking to get back to full capacity, because they were closed down during the pandemic, and so they gradually are building up, but they expect to be at full capacity by January of 2024.
In the recruitment committee, is it going to also look at trying to bring teachers back?
Well, if it can, yes. How about if I make a draft and let you look at that, and we can put that in there.
Okay.
I also had a more of a comment for the recruitment committee. Maybe talking to Western, to their business department for the marketing and social media, maybe having assistance from their students. I know when I was there as a student, they would help local businesses and stuff, but maybe that's an avenue that you could use too.
Perfect, yeah. I worked for a few charter schools, and charter schools rely heavily on public relations and marketing. Basically, they close down if they don't have enough students, so definitely we'll reach out to them and we can talk about this during our retreat as well. Strategic plan, looking at several different vendors and their costs. I decided to go back to CES. And those of you that weren't on the board when I started, I gave you 3 handouts with your packet today. This was the timeline that we originally used for the entry plan and the 3-year strategic plan. And it says what the purpose of an entry plan is and what the purpose of a strategic plan is. Then it gives a timeline. That's the last page. Actually, I think you have a separate handout for the actual strategic plan proposal. So I talked to CES today. We had a conference call. So if the boards are with these dates, this is something we can move forward with as far as our strategic plan.
Dates being starting in June? Or is there different people?
Well, no, that's, go down to December 7th. December 7th would be the first item. After
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
entry plan's
Okay,
done, then it
December
would start the strategic planning timeline.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And I'm not an expert in all of these activities that are planned. That would be CES, and they gave me that information as far as the process. And that letter, the other item there is a letter from them also.
Okay.
It would start with a needs assessment.
And so the completion is in January 23rd.
The completion would be March 13th.
Where's that on here?
On the second page, the fourth item down. No, it's in the timetable.
This is,
Dr. Spalletta, can you see if your mic is on? Dr. Spalletta, can you see if your mic is on? Dr. Spalletta, can you see if your mic is on? Dr. Spalletta.
okay.
So it would start with a form created with a letter to send out to selected participants in the community, all of our different stakeholders. Then there'd be participants would be determined, I guess, at our next board meeting. Participants for the needs assessment planning meeting would be determined. Our meeting in January, there'd be a needs assessment meeting. There'd be a work session. And then CES would share the results of the needs assessment with the board. CES would work with our board and all of our administrative staff, our district staff, and our building staff to help create a vision, mission, and core values. They look at the current ones and help create new ones if needed. Set goals for the district. And then moving into February, we make priority, basically strategic goals based on the vision, mission, and core values. Timelines. And then basically a strategic plan would be put in place. David would have to be specific on all of these because I don't know what goes into each one of these in detail.
One data element that I would like to see in it that is something that we need to put together for planning our budget for next year anyways. But that is the what's the term? Anyway,
You're thinking of the school improvement plan for the district and for each school?
yeah, but there's a particular, the dashboard. To have the NM dash data available and use that as part of our analysis of our strategic plan. And where are we in that process?
So this is something I need to talk to the principals about tomorrow, and then the district one needs to be updated as well.
Okay. That should be part of the finance committee in terms of going forward with preparing for making decisions on the budget for next year.
I'm going to try to bring as much data for our retreat as possible too, so that during our retreat, we can look at data as well.
That would be great. Okay, that'd be greatly appreciated.
So this is kind of a draft of the strategic plan. If there's other ideas or questions, or if you guys think this is, you can have CES come to our next meeting and talk about it. Actually, we'll be started by then, actually. So this is.
So this doesn't require an action item? It doesn't need to be an action item? It can just be a hiring of a consultant?
We already approved. I think we already.
We approved moving forward with the strategic plan, but we've not approved CES or anybody else. Matter of fact, the last presentation you had was because we weren't happy with the CES one, but now it seems like that's really our only logical choice left.
Well, there was an amount that was presented prior to me coming, and I actually got them to give me a reduced quote today, $2,000 less than the original quote. But he told me it was already approved by the board prior to me coming on board. Back in April.
April of last year?
Yeah, this letter actually was written to the previous superintendent back in March. He just changed and put my name on here, but this was sent out to Joyce back in March. He just changed the dates and put my name on here.
Okay.
But I can find out if it's been approved or not.
Please do.
Okay. If not, we might have to change the dates a little bit, but otherwise we're going to get started if it's all right with everybody.
If you find out it's approved, yeah. But if you find out it's not approved, then
Right.
we need to go through that process.
Any questions about the strategic planning? So that may be some extra time that we have to spend or have a work session prior to a regular meeting. Okay. The food drive was successful. Thank you for everyone that helped. We delivered 223 turkeys and food boxes to our needy families in the community. I think one day we had about 60 volunteers. We didn't expect that many for the first day, but there was about 60 volunteers from churches, motorcycle groups, the mine, students from the high school. It was great to see everybody help. We did it over 4 days.
I appreciate your ability to do all of this and to get that much participation. And it was quite eye-opening to see a lot of conditions that some people live in that definitely benefited from this. And when we know that our students are in places where they're much less fortunate than others, it's very well appreciated that we make outreach there and perhaps more of a long-term outreach.
So I talked to the mayor of Bayard today, and he's happy as well and hoping that we can make it a bigger thing next year and get more community partners involved in that too.
Okay.
I mentioned last time about having a plan for substitutes, and we're still working on that. We're meeting tomorrow and hoping that we can put together some extra funding that we have to give a little bit more money to substitutes to do a recruitment process to make sure we have enough subs in the spring for all of our schools. So principals have given me a list of their current subs, the permanent subs and ones that they need and kind of what the average is in each campus each day. So we're going to work on a plan to pay the subs a little bit more money and do a recruiting process to hopefully have more starting in January. And it'll just be for the second semester.
How are you getting the message out to the public besides the Facebook page? Is that the only place?
Well, we'll probably put it in the paper and do some radio things like we've done for other things. We'll go to the college and talk to people too. That's how I did it in Las Cruces, and I was pretty successful getting about 900 substitutes. So we gave a little bonus more than they had in the past too. They used the same funding and were able to get more substitutes. It did help last year that the governor did pay for background checks or licenses, or maybe both, for about a month and a half. I think that helped quite a bit too. But we're not proposing that. We're just proposing paying a little bit more and really working to get more substitutes.
So we started out with all the substitutes we thought we needed. Where are we with the substitutes we hired?
We've lost at least 50% of them. I mean, we had plenty of, most of our teaching positions. Every teaching position was filled up. We were fully staffed at the beginning of the year, and we've lost a few here and there, but we've lost a lot of substitutes. It's not a full-time position. People take that until they get a permanent job or decide it's not really for them. It's kind of a middle position for some people.
50% kind of points to maybe additional reasons.
Well, I probably is some additional reasons, yeah.
Okay.
But we're going to work on that. We have done more training. We did a training for all the substitutes, a mandatory training. I think that was helpful, but I mean, one training for somebody that's not been in a classroom is not enough. They need more support. So the principals have to help, the instructional coaches have to help.
Well, there were a lot that started without the training as well at the beginning of the year.
they shouldn't have started without having gone through the mandatory training. I know there was a couple that went, but that was not approved. It happened by accident.
Maybe we can look at doing an exit survey for subs, why they're leaving our district. And I just wanted to ask about the weekly pay that I had mentioned at last board meeting, that being an incentive for subs as well.
That's on my list to talk about with the group that we're meeting with tomorrow.
Okay.
No, I think that would be good. That's different for sure. So it may recruit a few more people.
It's an excellent idea.
I see that he's arrived, so I want to introduce Dr. Doc, they call him. Dr. Richard Best is going to be our interim principal at Snell for the spring until we find a permanent principal. And he comes with a lot of experience, instructional leadership. I think he's going to help the school tremendously. Ms. Davis has done a great job over the last couple of weeks of getting things improved. They're putting some procedures in place. But he started today, and I wanted to introduce him to everybody. And
Sorry, I wasn't here earlier.
Welcome aboard.
But it's a joy to be here. Already had some professional development staff. All the work to do. Take it seriously. A lot of that has to do with working with our teachers. How do we make the classroom positive environment?
Well, Dr. Spalletta has spoken highly about your educational, but we look forward to your assistance in this capacity, and we welcome you very much. Where are you? Can you give us a little bit of background on yourself?
Yeah, I grew up in Chicago.
I'm sorry, can you come up to the speaker? Sir.
Yes, I grew up in Chicago.
Because we had to start kind of, could you introduce yourself and we can.
You may need to turn the microphone on.
I think you can hear me now.
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I'm Dr. Richard Best, and I'm the new principal at the middle school. It's already keeping me hopping, and it's been a long day. We're having a basketball game right now, which we were on the winning end of, so I think that was good. And we already had some professional development in terms of how do we get students to take learning more seriously? How do we get them to be more excited, more invested? What can our teachers be doing? And so it's a big teacher issue. So how do we engage them? So that's, so there's a lot of work to be done. And I've already gotten too many discipline sheets on my desk, and we've got to work through that. We've got to really focus on creating positive environments in each classroom so that students don't think about misbehaving, but think about learning and wanting to learn. And so that's what that's going to be the emphasis. And I have a great superintendent who's, we for a few weeks there, we were talking every day, and when I saw those pictures of him delivering turkeys and so forth, I was really touched by the commitment of this district to really help the community. And so it's a real honor to be here. I'm one of 8 kids, and my mom was a teacher who changed lives, and so I'm my mother's son. Welcome. So it's a joy to be here, and I'm excited to be a partner with all of you, and I really look forward to that.
Do you have any questions?
Just a question, like the transition from Ms. Davis to Mr. Best, Dr. Best, I mean, what's the timeline look like for that?
So Ms. Davis is going to be there helping all
Oh,
week this week.
okay.
She's got the 80-day reporting. They changed the deadline from the 8th to this Thursday. So she's doing that. She's helping him, and then she wasn't feeling well and went home. Actually, or she wasn't feeling well. Came for a few minutes today earlier and worked from home today. But she's going to help him and as long as he needs it. And the rest of our directors will as well. Melissa is usually at that building every morning anyways, and I stop in there pretty regularly. So we're going to help him and
Yep.
make sure that he's
Yeah,
successful.
I want to, there are a lot of challenges. And unfortunately, there are a lot of students who don't take learning seriously. They don't. And so we have to look in the mirror, and really what today's professional development was about is how do we create an environment where they want to learn? And it's got to start with us. We've got to bring out the best in them. Got to start with us in creating a place where students are engaged, are invested, that they're supported, encouraged. And so that's not an easy thing to do. But we're going to work hard on it. And right away, we already had day one a big professional development workshop. So we're going to continue that.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The last thing that's not actually on my report is we talked about the legislative funding for security. That's actually this Thursday. And I believe, Victor, correct me if I'm wrong, I just looked at the agenda real quick. It just came this afternoon. I think we're set to present at 12:45 on Thursday at the university.
Present at the university to
This is
whom?
the prospectors meeting.
Oh, okay.
So we're presenting our pitch for, Victor, you want to tell them a little bit more about it?
President Bayard, members of the board, Superintendent Spalletta. Yeah, so we'll give a brief presentation on what we're requesting funding for on the project for the security. Every year when we request capital outlay monies, that's where we go and do our presentation. And we get 3 minutes to do a presentation.
And I appreciate you correcting the paperwork that you had sent with the amounts and providing that to us. But I want to raise a concern about not being involved in the process early on. That is something that the board should have been involved in. And granted, we did discuss and the impetus for the emphasis on security came from me. It should have been something that in the future we look at more collaboratively and with a lot more lead time, especially if we know that it's going to come on a certain date. The School Board Association also does this type of effort for or coordination for lobbying. We're outside of that loop, and we hope to get in that as well. But I appreciate what you've done, and I hope that we are able to get that. Just asking for more inclusion in the process.
I think we just got the application. How many weeks ago was it?
Yeah, it was a few weeks back where we got it. This is an ongoing request. We've been going after surveillance monies for the last 4 or 5 years now. But yeah, we'll definitely make sure we include you in the next one.
Okay, and
I don't know if any of you would like to go along with us. You're welcome to.
Yeah.
That's why I brought it up.
when is it?
We can send you a copy of the invitation.
I believe it's Thursday at 12:45 is when our time is.
Yes.
Majority would be at Albuquerque on Thursday, Friday.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll send you the link because I believe they'll also have where you can view it online.
Okay,
I think
Friday
they'll be
is kind
back. It's Thursday.
of open date doing that. But okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I also wondered, I know at one point the superintendent of Silver Schools was a prospector. So maybe that's something that you could look into.
I am an honorary prospector also.
Okay.
Both of us are honorary prospectors.
I know he was like the chair of the prospector, so he's really involved, and I think that helped with his district as well.
Okay.
That concludes my superintendent's report.
Okay, we are now at the point of, if there's any public input for anything that wasn't on the agenda, that would like to be discussed. Thank you. Nobody? Okay, then, the next item on the agenda is going into executive session, and the executive session is so that we can discuss limited personnel matters and personally identifiable student information as permitted under sections 10, 15-1, paragraph H, bullets 2 and 4 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, specifically so that the superintendent can update the board and legal counsel can advise regarding administrative office personnel and staff investigations. I would entertain a motion to go into the executive session.
So moved.
And a second,
Second.
is there any other discussion? And a roll call vote. Ms. Begay,
Yes.
Ms. Dean,
Yes.
myself, Gilbert, Guadiana, yes, and Mr. Terrazas.
Yes.
Motion is unanimous. It's approved. We are now in closed session and it is 6:27. advise regarding administrative office personnel and staff.
Mr. Guadiana, did you have your mic on?
No.
I'll do it again. We're coming back to convene in open session. We were in executive session, and the purpose of the executive session was to discuss limited personnel matters and personally identifiable student information as permitted under sections 10-15-1, paragraph H, bullets 2 and 4 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, specifically so that the superintendent can update the board and legal counsel can advise regarding administrative office personnel and staff investigation. We're reconvening on this, affirming that no action was taken during the executive session and the discussions were limited to those personnel matters. I have a motion to reconvene in open session.
So moved.
Second?
Is there any further discussion?
No.
I'll take a roll call vote. Then Ms. Begay,
Yes.
Ms. Dean,
Yes.
myself, Gilbert Guadiana, yes, and Mr. Carazo.
Yes.
It is unanimous. We are now back in open session and it is
7:00.
7:00. Wow. Okay. The last item on our agenda is adjournment. Do I have a motion for adjourn?
So moved.
We are adjourned.